Welcome to News Now. I'm your host, Kim Haley Jackson. Today, our segment is titled A Newspaper Grows in Belmont. From the Belmont News Foundation, we have today Hal Shubin and Jane Sherwin. Jane and Hal, welcome. Could you please let the audience know why you feel a new newspaper is needed?
Every town, every community needs a reliable, trusted, regular source of information about what's happening. This has been true since there were town criers in the Middle Ages, and it's certainly true for Belmont. People need to know and have told us that they want information about everything from community events to financial committee meetings, high school sports, and everything in between. Without that kind of information, people can't really trust what's going on. They certainly don't know what's going on. And the feeling of being engaged in a community is harder to sustain. There are often problems based on research about problems with lower voter participation, fewer people running for office, and a lot of related problems. And I'm sure Hal would like to add to that.
Yeah, so while we do have a newspaper, there's the Belmont Citizen Herald. The company Gannett that owns all the local papers has stopped covering local issues, and instead they have what they call regional coverage. So there's just no way to find out information about who's running for office or really anything that we used to be able to find out by reading the newspaper. There are lots of sources for getting information, but that's a lot of work for individuals to find the sources that are useful, to keep going out and looking for them, or to receive dozens of newsletters on a regular basis. So we're looking to provide what every community really needs to have, as Jane was saying.
Okay, and with that statement of having a more community-based newspaper, I'd like to talk about your mission statement, which was great. To keep our residents well informed and engaged with thorough, accurate, and fair coverage of topics affecting life in the town of Belmont. So with our small town, there are a lot of opinions, to be sure, a lot of news that's shared amongst the population. But can you explain to the audience how the paper will ensure the coverage is accurate and fair in the Belmont Voice, and will there be community input in the Belmont Voice? So I guess a two-part question.
Well, I would say this is a great question. First of all, the newspaper has a governing board, and it's our job as part of that board to make sure that we stick to our mission statement, that we are aware of those goals of accuracy and fairness. The second thing is that it's our job to make sure that the reporters and editors that we hire and the freelancers that we hire are very conscious of this mission, and that they stick to it. And that in hiring them, we are looking for that sense of fairness and effective coverage that is essential to us. I think that also I'd say it's up to the community to let us know if they disagree, if they think something is unfair. We're going to be open to letters to the editor. We're looking forward to letters to the editor. We're inviting opinion pieces from Belmont residents, and would even encourage a back and forth between two different residents. So there you have it. What do you think, Hal?
So as Jane said, we're going to be hiring an editor and a couple of journalists. So it's important to note that this is going to be a nonprofit corporation that runs the newspaper, but with professional journalists. We are subscribing to all the appropriate statements that newspapers subscribe to indicate that they're going to look for multiple sources and depend on talking to enough people and gathering enough facts. We will certainly invite contributions from the community, but it is going to be a professional newspaper. A lot of people in the beginning thought it would be all volunteer. And the people who are organizing it certainly are volunteers, but we're going to run it just the same way any other newspaper is.
Okay, and with that, can you explain how the paper will be financially supported? I think that's great. I assumed that it was going to be volunteer run, but both you and Jane have mentioned the hiring of staff. So can you tell us a little bit how it will be financially supported?
Well, we're doing a lot of fundraising. We're getting started now, so that we'll have money to pay those journalists and all the fees that go along with running a business. We're going to depend on advertising as well. Folks in other towns have started up newspapers like this. You could look at Concord and Marblehead and Newton and New Bedford and other places. And one model that we like a lot is what they're doing in Concord. They found out that if they took a certain amount of advertising that for the print newspaper, that would pay for printing and mailing it. So they can send it to every household and business in town at no charge. So no one has to sign up, no one has to pay for the paper. So in that sense, it's a community service, and we can do that as a nonprofit. We're not looking to make tons of money on this. That doesn't seem to be a viable model anymore. We're not looking to make any money on this. We're looking to provide a service. So it'll be fundraising and advertising as the main ways we go ahead with this.
Thank you.
I think he's pretty much covered it. What this means is that to a large extent, it's a community-supported newspaper in terms of the fundraising, and even the advertising will be mostly local, at
Right.
least as far as we can tell at this point. As a not-for-profit, everyone's donation will be deductible. We have applied for not-for-profit status. We're not there yet, but we don't think there will be a problem. We are now working with our major donors, beginning to approach our major donors, but people can expect to see in the next few months some ways that they can donate to us either online or in person. And any questions about any of that, we're happy to answer.
Okay. And so I know that a survey came out earlier this year around February. So could the both of you talk about some of the responses that you received from that survey? Like, what were people most interested in seeing in a local newspaper?
We got a lot of feedback. We are still getting a few responses. We've gotten almost 800 800 responses from people around Belmont, and got my list here. Interesting to me is the thing that people wanted to see the most is community events and a calendar of what's going on in town. That was even more important than the political, school, or sports coverage. But right behind that was issues like school staffing and town budgets, town board and committee meetings, and all the things you expect to see in a newspaper. Plus, of course, things like death notices and legal notices, real estate transactions. The survey really told us that people want to know what's going on in town, all of the things that are going on, not just what happened at the select board meeting on a Monday night. We got a number of comments from people saying, make sure you work with students at the high school, right? There's a school newspaper there. They've got journalists. They've got a lot of kids who are involved in a lot of things, and people want to know about more than just sports at the schools. We asked people how they get news now about what's going on in Belmont, and it's almost a sad thing to see that it was 7 to 10% of the people said they have no sources. But the biggest number that people reported was friends, neighbors, and family. That's how they got news. And a whole slew of blogs and online information and social media. But we know that social media can be a difficult place to get straightforward, honest news because the loudest voice always rises to the top.
Okay. And so with that, when with all this going on in the background, when would you anticipate the first issue coming out?
Well, we're aiming for the middle of October, certainly by the end of the year. And I guess we should emphasize that this is called a newspaper, but it really comes in two forms. One is the print version that Hal's talking about, which you can keep on your kitchen table for your friends to see, as well as read. The coverage will be thorough, but it will only be once a week. So the other part of this is our website and our digital newsroom, as we sometimes call it. So if something exciting happens, if there's some kind of breaking story, you shouldn't have to wait a week to read about it. You should be able to go right online and see whether the Belmont Voice has covered this issue. And you can let us know. You may know about it before we do.
And we'll have social media. We've started that because we want to let people know what's happening even before we have any news to report. I guess in the beginning we're the news. What's going on with forming this business? So we'll have social media. We'll probably have a newsletter. We'll try to communicate with people in any way that makes sense, any way they want to hear about things. And it will take until fall because it turns out, like with everything else, there's just a lot of work to do. We're creating a startup company. It's not a high-tech startup company that's creating a web app, but it is still a startup company. We have a lot of money to raise so that we can pay the journalists and, all the subscriptions we need, and equipment, and whatever else goes into doing this. So there's a lot of work. And we encourage people to volunteer to help with whatever tasks they can help with, whether it's marketing or graphic design, or just distributing flyers. And there's a contact us form on the website, which is belmontvoice.org.
Okay, and lastly, before I let you go, you have a community meeting at the Belmont Public Library on May 17th. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
That's at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, May 17th, in the assembly room at the library. And we hope you'll tell your friends. And we are going to plaster the town with posters and flyers. We hope that will help as well. That's a chance to meet the team in person, to ask us questions, to listen to what we have to say, to sign up to help in ways large or small. And what else, Hal?
And to tell us what you want to see in this community newspaper. And for those who can't make it to the live event or don't want to be in public spaces yet, it will be available on Belmont Media, on television, and on the web. We're hoping to talk to a lot of people. We want to let everybody know what we're doing, and we want to know what they want, because we're not doing this to the town. We want to be doing this with the town. Very important.
I would mention a couple more things. One is that we will be at Town Day with a table and some flyers, and that'll be another chance for people to ask questions and learn more about us and tell us what's important to them in the newspaper. I also want to just add one thing, which is that in addition to this governing board that Hal and I are on, we also have what's called an editorial advisory group. And that's being put together by a senior journalist who has invited a number of very experienced reporters in radio, in print, to advise and back up the staff that we hire. I think that's going to be a great strength of this paper, and it's important for people to know.
Is the majority of the staff actually hired staff or volunteers? How do you envision that looking right now?
Right now, we're looking to hire an editor and a couple of journalists and maybe some part-time folks, some very part-time people. And then I guess we'll have to see how it goes. We'll certainly accept contributions from the community, letters, as mentioned earlier, opinion pieces, and we're hoping to have pro and con pieces so that we can have people from the community discussing both sides of an issue. So that's the plan right now, and I think as we get closer, we'll learn more about what our budget can be and talk with folks in other towns and find out what works for them.
It's as Hal said earlier, it's a business, and it's undoubtedly going to need some staff in addition to the reporting staff, the editorial staff. They're at the heart of it. They produce the product. But it may be that we will need some additional staff, paid staff as well. And the board is beginning to sketch that out and pin it down.
Okay. So if we had local people who are interested in becoming part of the staff or even volunteering, where's a good place to reach the group?
The best thing is to go to the website, belmontvoice.org, and there's a contact us link at the top of the page or in the menu, and they can fill out the form, let us know how to get in touch with them, and let us know what they'd like to do, how they'd like to be part of it, whether it's large financial donation or writing or distributing flyers, whatever they're able to contribute.
Or a small financial donation.
Well, Hal and Jane, thank you so much. I think I can speak for everyone. We are very excited about this new paper, the Belmont Voice. I would like to thank the audience for choosing in, and please come out and support Belmont Voice on May 17th.
Thank you.
Thank you for viewing.